On this episode of the Warrior Woodshop, we're actually going to be outside the workshop working on a trailer. This is a old camper that someone kind of gave up on. They started converting it to a side-by-side utility trailer and for some reason lost interest. So they hadn't done too bad of a job. It's 20 foot long from the front of the gooseneck there to the point where they cut a dovetail, and then at the 4 foot left over for the dovetail. They had flipped the axles so it raised it up, but what we discovered was in flipping the axles, the arc is the wrong direction, and now the brakes won't work. So it's scheduled to go into the trailer shop and have that little saddle right there welded to the other side, and so the axles can be flipped the right direction. Then they'll be functioning properly. It has F-150 light truck style tires on it, not heavy duty trailer tires, so we'll fix that problem. He did a good job, decently good job of narrowing the upper frame for a short bed, so that way a short bed truck could turn it. And it has a gooseneck adapter from the fifth wheel, so it could actually be towed either direction. One of the things I don't like about fifth wheel frames is they are dual jack, but they're small dual jacks. So this thing, he set it up to be crank with a drill, so that works. So what we've done to it so far is you can see how this rail right here doesn't match the stock rail, because that's the way campers come. They only put rails every 32 or 48 inches based on what they have in the floor and where people walk. So here we had to add them every 18 inches to make the spacing work out. In the center it worked out pretty well, and in the back we had to add a couple. The guy before actually took some time and cut the 6-inch frame, cut a wedge in it and let it drop down a couple inches. But what he didn't do was plate it. There's no gusset on either one of these welds. In fact, he didn't even weld the back side of it. I had to go back in there, I don't know if you can see that or not, I had to go back in there and weld that. So, and we've added a few extensions to the frame. Another annoying thing that he did is he kept the stock extensions right here, which only come out 10 inches. So this trailer is actually 7.5 foot wide. If he'd have just done more of what we did here, angle, or what he did in the middle, put a square tube, if he'd have come out 12 inches or 13 inches, it would have been the stock or standard 8 foot width. And by the time you add rub rails, it would have been the full 8.5 legal width. Well, we'll make it work. He did leave the upper deck. We're gonna cover that up. That's 6 foot wide by 9 foot long in the center, 6.5 foot long on the outside, so you can actually get a small utility vehicle like a little Razor or a full-size four-wheeler up there. We're going to put a L channel or an angle iron right here, so that way you can hook ramps. It's 3 foot from there to there. It's about the same height as a pickup bed. Okay, we like our lights. You can tell by the headache rack, so we went ahead and added marker lights and turn signals. It makes it more visible too when you're pulling. We have since added the 3/4 lights along the fenders, and we went ahead and added, he put the outside ones in, we went ahead and added a double set, and instead of just an ID bar, we're going to use the recessed lights because it keeps all the tubing or the wiring in tubing. He did a decent job of using the natural gas or propane gas line to house the wiring. We're going to borrow that. However, every light fixture, one of the trade things we do is we're going to cut this out and put an electrical junction box, and then that way all the main wiring is here in this tube, and then all the marker lights, the only thing that comes out is a little bit of flex coil. So we'll keep your progress updated. You can see that we've already got some steel on the trailer. That is the angle iron for the upper deck to close it in, and the ramp hooks. Since, you know, like I said, we've already welded in before we got video going, 2x3 angle for cross members. This is rated at 10,000 pounds, couple 5,000 pound axles. So it will do a decent amount of hauling. 2 full-size quad cab razors could fit on here, or a multitude of different accommodations. And then, like I said, one of the standard Razor 570s or something like that would fit up on the upper deck when we're all said and done. So there's what we're starting with. And then one thing I like to do is add lights and lights and lights, but this one we're keeping it kind of stock. But I went ahead and put a light up here, so that way at night, you ever get home from a long day of riding, you can definitely tell if that gets a little close to the headache rack there. You can see it coming rather than an oh beep kind of moment. So the only thing we're not going to have time to do, but if I would, is I would close that in and get a couple of RV access doors and go ahead and make that into storage. If we have time, we'll do that. But again, this is kind of a turnaround project. Any questions, leave them in the comments. We'll answer them on what we did.